Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, your Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is April 10th, and today we're going to be taking a look at the continuing active weather for the Pacific Northwest. You can see the cold air spilling off the continent, interacting with these systems as they move through the Pacific Northwest. And the next system out here over the Pacific Ocean is going to bring that mid-latitude cyclone across central Oregon in through tonight and tomorrow morning. It's going to have a pretty chilly deformation band on the north side. We'll go over what I mean by a deformation band briefly here coming up as well. And then we're going to continue to get upper level lows spinning around the area here as continued cold air will spill into the region. There is thunderstorm potential too for the next few days across the Pacific Northwest, as well as a little bit of lowland snow, mainly Monday morning. And then looks like there's another chance for some lowland snow as we go on into midweek coming up as well. So we'll take a look at that in some detail. Severe weather season is really ramping up across the lower 48, especially the Great Plains for the next few days. There is a tornado threat. We'll look at that briefly as well. So checking out the infrared, actually the visible satellite imagery across the rest of the country now, you can see there is some energy moving across the plains. There's going to be a little bit of a tornado threat, Oklahoma-Kansas border today. And then Monday as well for the southern plains. Tuesday, a more dynamic event possible across the plains, including up towards Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and then pushing off a bit east on Wednesday. But you can see our system moving in the high clouds for the Pacific Northwest. Checking out the National Weather Service is getting ready for that storm system moving across Oregon. You can see winter storm warnings, winter weather advisories, high wind watches, warnings all across the west. And this extends all the way into the northern states across to Montana, Wyoming. See the red flag danger here across Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona, Colorado as well. And this is for Monday right here. So the day 2 outlook. And as we go through the day 3 outlook, you see a more dynamic system. A dry line is going to set up across Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas here. And there's going to be tornado potential each one of these days. And this is going to push off a bit onto the east on Wednesday. And I'll be out chasing that. I'm going to try to live stream several times during this trip. So looking back to the Pacific Northwest, here's a NAM 3KM. And this is showing the system coming in here, and you can see that really make landfall as it's deepening across the central Oregon coast. And behind this, there's going to be thunderstorm potential and even waterspout potential here on Monday morning. So heads up if you're on the Oregon coast, if you're vacationing, have your eyes on the sky, capture a waterspout picture out there on Monday morning. But you can see this precipitation kind of moves up towards Seattle. This is going to be a really cold deformation band on the north side of that. Could bring the snow level down to the surface. Snow level is down to the surface in some places, or close to it anyway, across western Washington. I'm seeing pictures coming in with snowflakes up towards Everett. So it was pretty chilly last night. Got down to like 35 degrees at my house with pretty steady rain. So really close to bringing some snowfall down to the lower elevations. And this was what happened last evening. So you can see these rotating low-level little areas of shear here as they moved on shore. They weren't that tall, so I don't know if they produced any waterspout or brief tornado, but they had extreme shear to work with. And we'll take a look at that here in a moment. But this is the backside of that front, so these were briefly spinning pretty good as they came on shore here, and then this dissipated as it moved inland. And here's that simulated radar here on the NAM last night. You can kind of see how it picked up that sheared environment on the backside of these storms and then moved across. And then it's picking up these little mesoscale features that were moving across the Puget Sound today as well in advance of this next storm you can see moving to the Oregon coast. And some pretty heavy precipitation associated with that as well. So the wild weather is definitely going to continue. And we're going to get more systems moving through midweek, which we'll talk about here in a moment as well. So this was also last night. You can see how they had the helicity, the really good turning within the atmosphere, some really good wind shear going on. That's what causes little sub-meso vortices that were rolling on shore last night. And you can kind of see that the low-level winds from southwest, and it quickly turned to northwest above the surface. The tops just weren't very high, though. You can see the equilibrium level generally below 10,000 feet, so they just weren't big enough to really spawn any kind of damaging tornado. And not much instability, but there was some, which helped out with that turning. Now, looking at the thunderstorm potential for today, let's dive right into this here. You can see this kind of builds up across the region, includes eastern Washington as well. And then we calm down overnight. We go back into Monday, and you can see we build it back up again in the wake of this system. And this could extend out towards the Oregon coast as well, western Washington. And then look, as we go through Tuesday, we're going to do it again. We build it back up also. There's going to be a little upper level low spinning off the coast Tuesday. We'll talk about that in a little bit of detail too, but you can see some of the interior. Could get a thunderstorm on Tuesday. And as here, let's look into Wednesday as well. Let's do it again Wednesday. So this upper area aloft is really cold, and with the strong April sun, we could get some thunderstorms for the next several days. This is looking at the HER, and you can see this system as it moves in brings this nice snow band. Generally just includes Portland, maybe north, I-5 traveling south out of Olympia, and this could easily extend up towards Olympia, maybe even Seattle if this low moves a little bit further north than Prague here. So kind of an interesting system rolling through here Monday morning. We're going to look more at it here. Here's the NAM 3KM showing the same thing. You can see that deformation band more included in the Portland area there, northern Willamette Valley, and kind of stays away from Seattle a little bit more. So there's some model discrepancy there. Here's the European. Last night's run, you can see the system move in here and really bring that deformation band across the northern Willamette Valley. The snow shield extends north towards Olympia. Again, this is probably not going to be a big accumulation down at the surface, but definitely for the higher terrains. And even the coast could see some snowflakes out of this system as well. So this is looking at the NAM 3KM. Here we're looking at dew point. I wanted to kind of show you this system as it moves towards the Oregon coast. Look at that warm tongue here. And you can kind of see where that mid-latitude makes landfall. And as this low moves south of us, look at this really chilly, dry air moving over the region here. I mean, look at the dew point at Seattle, 25 degrees here. This is mid-April. That's incredible. And then you can see this dry air really spread across the entire west coast here as we continue to get cold air filtering into the region here. We're not done with low-level snowfall potential here coming up midweek. This is the NAM 3KM showing the wind speeds on that coastal system here for Oregon. In the bent back occlusion, there's going to be some good winds, and in the southerlies in front of that system as well. So they might have a high wind warning up for that already. We'll have to check on that, or I'll check on it for tomorrow. But this is for Sunday. Here's that weak system that moved through here this morning, and there comes that system kind of barreling through the Oregon coast. Pretty deep. It's not quite as deep as some of the models had it yesterday, but still a very strong system that's developing as it makes landfall. And here's taking a look at the upper air aloft. This is up 5,000 feet. You'll see the warm tongue from that system moving through there. Really chilly air aloft. So if the snowfall does move up north, we could definitely see some snowflakes up towards the Seattle area or the I-5 corridor and anywhere along the coast here, generally north. And you can see that cold air really rush in behind the system into Oregon. It can be a great snowmaker for the higher terrain. The Cascades of Washington, Oregon should get good snowfall amounts, as well as the Rockies. And British Columbia as well is getting good snowfall out of these systems. And look at this Tuesday morning. You can kind of see this really cold air moving aloft. It's going to spawn a little system here. There's waterspout potential here for Tuesday morning. So if you're out vacationing or if you can get out to the coastline, I would head out to the Washington coast on Tuesday morning if I was going to be here to check this out. There's going to be good turning in the atmosphere, some very unstable air out there. So it could be interesting. This kind of highlights that here. Here's the system that moved through this morning. Weak upper level low hanging around the Puget Sound. Then you can see the next system, an open wave that develops as it moves towards the Oregon coast and really gives some good spin to the atmosphere. And then you'll see Tuesday morning too. You can see the upper level spin happening off the coast here. So this wild, crazy weather, hail, thunderstorms, waterspouts, spinning, rotating showers is going to continue to go on through midweek. Now here's looking at kind of the longer range, but we'll look at the shorter range here too briefly. You can see the trough really opening up as that system moves on shore Monday. This gets reinforced with that system Tuesday morning. Very cold air aloft. And you can see the trough just continues to open up over the Pacific Northwest, keeping us very cold all the way through next weekend. So wild weather will continue. Let's see the GFS to see how much it agrees. The trough opens up for that system Monday. Has that upper level low for Tuesday morning too. That's where I would head if I was out chasing the weather here in the Pacific Northwest. I'll be out in the plains though, however, for this round. And you can see that troughing just continue on in through Thursday, Friday, and finally a little bit of ridging moves in and they extended on the GFS here. And maybe we'll get some nice days eventually out through later on in April as the Gulf of Alaska low starts to crank again, though. Never far away in these La Nina springs. Now let's look at the European, what it's calling for snowfall amounts. In a winter setup, you'd be getting really good snowfall out of this all the way down to the sea level towards the Portland area. But since it is April, these snowfall amounts are probably not going to materialize like that for Portland. You could see some brief accumulation all the way up to the Oregon coast even, but I don't think you're going to be seeing these 6-7 inch amounts that some people are sharing online So, and what you see right here is probably not going to happen down to the surface. But again, for the upper levels, the upper terrain here, look at the Oregon Cascades are really going to get some good snowfall. That should help alleviate some drought concerns. The NAM 3KM kind of shows that for Portland too. I mean, this is ridiculous. East Portland there, a foot of snow. Almost certainly not going to happen, but it does show that we could see some snowflakes fly in Monday morning through the North Willamette Valley here, all the way out to the Oregon, Washington, southwest coast there. And depending on how far this precipitation moves north, you could see it through the Seattle Metro, Tacoma, Olympia as well, and especially I-5 down through Kelso, Vader, towards Portland. Here's the HRRR kind of showing a similar thing here. Kind of leaves Portland a little bit out of it, but look at that I-5 corridor down through Olympia, down through Kelso. This is what I mean by deformation band here. Let's bring this up. This is just kind of the mid-latitude cyclone as it moves on shore of the Oregon coast, for example, and the wind's just kind of stretched out, and you get a little bit of southerly flow aloft, and you start to get the northerly winds on the north side of this system, so you get a little bit of a convergent zone. Generally weak winds, that kind of defines what a deformation band is. Usually forms on the north side of a mid-latitude cyclone. Just another way we get convergent zones around the area here. And that tends to be where snow sets up on these mid-latitude cyclones as the warmer air comes up out of the south here and kind of meets up with the northerly winds, and you can get that convergence zone, and it kind of taps that cooler air aloft. And that's how it works. So that's what I mean when I see deformation band. Usually forms on the north side of these lows. You can see the cold front, the warm front, and the occluded front with this system here. Let it play one more time. There's the cold front, southerly winds right up over those northerly winds, kind of forms that deformation band there. So anyway, let's look at the UW model here. This is still, actually, no, this is, that was this morning's, but then last night's. So we're still on last night's run here, but you can see that low diving into the central Oregon coast, really powerful gradient on the south side there as this low pressure moves in here and really brings some cold air over the region. We warm up during the day like with any normal April day. Well, I'm not sure what that was there, probably a glitch in the program. And then you can see the upper level low here for Tuesday morning off the Washington coast. And now let's look at the snowfall potential here. This is the cumulated snowfall. So the UW run usually does better with this. But you can see, look at this I-5 corridor painting several inches of snow. Southwest Washington coast, northern Oregon coast there. A little skiff for Portland. But look at the higher terrains, just getting ridiculous amounts of snowfall here. But it also called, as you can see, for a little bit of snowfall through this morning here. Yeah, this is going through Sunday afternoon, and then we're going to go into Monday morning here, and then watch this again as we go on in through. So this is Tuesday morning, a little bit of snowfall showing up for the Seattle metro area as well. But yeah, I mean, look at some of the Washington coast. This is just crazy. So we're going to have to watch these systems, these upper level lows as they come in. They're going to try to bring some snowfall down to the surface. I don't expect a lot of accumulation, even though this says that some areas might get that. Generally, the best chance we get at frozen precipitation is a little bit of convection, as we've been seeing the last several days. You get convection, it easily creates that small hail and drops that, it drops that freezing precipitation down to the surface. And snowfall is generally much more rare during this time of year, even though it is happening a little bit around the Puget Sound this morning. But tomorrow morning, it's going to be primed for that, seeing snowflakes down to the surface, mainly Olympia south through Portland, out towards the Washington, Oregon coast. So here's Seattle, Tacoma, kind of showing you guys what temperatures we can expect the next few days. Generally only up into the mid-40s at most, and that's only for a couple hours. You can see some of these overnight lows down into the 30s. Wednesday morning, pretty chilly. Thursday morning, pretty chilly as well. So it definitely does not feel like spring. Feels more like January here for the Pacific Northwest. And Astoria, I just wanted to kind of show you guys this. It's showing a little bit of accumulating snowfall all the way up to the Oregon coast there. And look at this kind of ridiculous run here for the European. I just had to show it. This is fantasy. I don't expect that you're going to see 8 inches of snowfall here, as the European is saying here. And you can see a lot of the ensemble runs have it too. That's why you have to take this with a grain of salt. You have to understand what time of year it is. You have to know, that it is mid-April before you just come out and say, hey, look, Oregon, Portland's going to get 4 inches of snow. The ensemble mean says 4 inches. Obviously, probably not going to see anything like that down towards the Portland metro, but you could see a few wet snowflakes. In Everett, they're seeing some light snow this morning, and that could continue on through midweek and on in through later next week, depending on how these systems come in. So yeah, that's what we're dealing with. A lot of cold air aloft, and this should be hanging out through next week. The storm system moving through the Oregon coast tomorrow morning. Nice little upper level low. Thunderstorm chances through Tuesday and Wednesday. I'd be out chasing Tuesday morning on the Washington coast and watch that upper level low. A lot of turning in the atmosphere, so you might get lucky and see waterspouts across the area there. And yeah, so we'll do this. I'll probably be out in Dallas tomorrow, so I'll try to it'll be more of a shorter briefing, and we'll go over things, and we'll highlight some of the systems that we see moving in and look at thunderstorm potential again and see if there's any lowland snow potential or if it dissipates going on to the future. So hope you guys are having a good day. It's going to be chilly today, but this is the price of a La Nina spring. So I will talk to you guys later.